Have you ever walked into your child's home and suddenly felt like a stranger? You brought dessert. You smiled at the grandkids. You asked how work's going, how their week was. But deep down, you felt it. You weren't really there anymore, at least not the way you used to be. They're still polite. They let you in, but their eyes stay glued to their phones. The conversation is rushed. Even the hugs feel colder than before. And you tell yourself, it's okay. At least they still invite me. But on the drive home, it's the silence that stings the most. Here's the truth. That pain you're feeling, it's not your fault. And more than that, you can turn that pain into strength. Because in this video, we're not just talking about loneliness, we're going deeper into something few dare to say out loud. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who slowly stop seeing your worth. But here's the twist. That's not your ending. In fact, it might just be the beginning of something better. So don't look away. What you're about to hear might change the way you live the rest of your life. If this video speaks to your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be here, walking with you through this journey of aging, one honest story at a time. Part 1. I visited every week, but no one really noticed. I still remember the moment I realized I was no longer dad in my daughter's house. I was just the old man who brought pie every Sunday. Everything felt the same. I knocked on the door. The grandkids rushed past me. My daughter said, "Oh, hi, Dad," and kept washing dishes. No one asked if I was hungry, how I slept, or if I was tired. I told an old joke. No one laughed. Maybe they'd heard it before, or maybe they weren't listening. And in that moment, sitting quietly on a chair in the corner, I realized I was coming out of habit. But no one was truly waiting for me anymore. Have you ever felt that way? Leave a comment if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. I'm not telling this story to complain. I'm telling it because I want you to know you're not alone. And in the next part, I'll share how I went from quietly enduring to finally reclaiming the respect I deserve. Part 2, I stopped going and felt lighter. I didn't yell. I didn't blame anyone. I just came home, made myself a cup of tea, and sat quietly. And then I asked myself, how many Sundays do I have left? Every visit left me feeling more tired than before. Not because they were mean, but because I kept forcing myself to show up, even when it was clear no one really needed me there. So I did something small. I didn't go the next week, and I waited. Would anyone call? Would anyone ask, "Where's Dad?" Guess what? No one did. 1 week, then 2. Silence. But here's the surprising part. I didn't feel sad. I felt light. For the first time in years, I spent Sunday on my own. I read, I took a walk. I called an old friend I hadn't spoken to in ages, and I realized my life wasn't over. It was just beginning in a different way. If you've ever thought, I don't want to bother my kids, ask yourself instead, how many more times will I do this and feel worse? Don't be afraid to share your thoughts. I'm listening. Part 3, they still invite me, but the warmth is gone. The hardest truth I've had to face is this. They weren't inviting me because they wanted to. They invited me because they were used to it. I used to tell myself, they're busy. I get it. But how long should I keep excusing the silence? How many times can you smile through the disappointment? I don't blame them, but I also don't want to be the person who's just filling a chair at the table. Do you know that feeling? Leave a comment if you've ever gone, sat quietly and left without anyone asking, "Did you have a good time, Dad?" That's when I knew I didn't want to live that way anymore. I don't need grand gestures or fake kindness. I just want to be seen, to be heard. Even if it's just one genuine question. "Are you okay, Dad?" If I can't find that there, I'll go find it somewhere else. Somewhere I'm not just a stranger in my own family. Part 4, I stepped back, and something surprising happened. I didn't disappear from my kids' lives. I just stepped back a little, and then something surprising happened. On the 3rd week, my daughter called. Her voice sounded different. "Dad, why haven't you been coming by?" I smiled. "I figured you were busy. I didn't want to get in the way." There was a pause. Then she said something I never expected. "We actually miss you. The kids asked about you." And that's when I realized sometimes stepping away isn't about guilt. It's about giving people a chance to feel your absence, so they can finally see your presence had value. Have you ever tried stepping back? Just once? No complaints, no drama, just space to see who reaches back. I don't blame anyone. I just choose not to hurt myself anymore. Part 5, the biggest lesson after 70. Here's the biggest lesson I've learned after turning 70. Not everyone you love will love you back the way you need. I used to believe that if I was kind, patient, and giving, everything would work out. But the truth is, sometimes you give too much, and no one even notices. And that's not your fault. Here's what you need to remember. You weren't born just to serve everyone else. You deserve joy. You deserve peace. You deserve freedom, even at 75, 80, or 90. If you've ever felt like no one sees you as a priority anymore, drop a heart emoji in the comments. At least here, we see each other. I've stopped waiting for others to understand me. I chose to understand myself. And the moment I did, half my pain disappeared. Part 6, I stopped calling, stopped asking, and started living again. When I stopped calling, when I no longer asked, "Need help this week?" I thought I'd feel lonely. But you know what? I didn't lose anything. In fact, I started finding myself again. I had time for things I once let go. A quiet morning, an old song, a book I'd left unfinished since 1998. I found new connections, a neighbor, a senior class, a book club in the park. People who didn't care who I used to be. They just liked who I was right now. If you're tired of always chasing family, try stopping, just for a bit. You'll be surprised at what's waiting on the other side. Part 7. Even if I can't do much anymore, I still deserve respect. One thing changed me deeply. I don't need to be useful to be worthy of love. All my life, I was the helper, the fixer, the one who did things for others. And then, as I got older and slowed down, suddenly no one asked anymore, like if I wasn't useful. I wasn't important. But that's a lie, and a cruel one. My value isn't in lifting groceries or fixing faucets. It's in me. My warm heart, my memories, my presence. Have you tied your worth to being needed? If so, maybe it's time to let that go. You are not a tool. You are a human being. Part 8. I stayed silent so long. I forgot how to speak my truth. I used to stay quiet, didn't complain, didn't speak up, didn't want to bother my kids, just wanted peace at home. But the longer I stayed silent, the more I disappeared. One day, I gently said the dinner felt rushed. The kids didn't even say hello, and my daughter frowned. "Dad, you're being too sensitive again." I went quiet, but inside, It stung. And that's when I realized, if I don't speak, no one knows I'm hurting. And if I do speak and get dismissed, is that really love? How long has it been since you said how you really feel? Don't let silence erase you. Because if you don't listen to yourself, who will? Part 9. If no one notices you're gone, were you ever really seen? The first week I didn't visit, no one called. The second week, still silence. That's when a painful question hit me. If my absence doesn't matter, did my presence ever mean anything? It hurt, but it also lit the path forward. I stopped calling, stopped trying to squeeze into spaces where I was only there to fill the seat, and in that silence, I finally heard my own voice again. If you've ever disappeared from somewhere and no one noticed, remember, you didn't lose anything. You just finally saw the truth. And the truth, however painful, is what helps you begin a new chapter. Part 10, I stopped waiting for their love and started loving myself. When I let go of everything, I thought I'd feel empty, but I didn't. I felt full again. I reread poems I'd written in my 40s. I cooked my favorite meal without anyone telling me it was too salty. I smiled at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I saw a man who was still alive, still kind, still whole. I stopped waiting for someone to get me, because I finally got myself. If you feel like life has pushed you aside, don't keep chasing. You're not being left behind. You're finally coming back to yourself. And when you do, you'll see that aging isn't fading. It's deepening, it's clarifying, it's freeing, closing. I stopped waiting and started truly living. If you've made it this far, you've probably felt what I've felt too. Quiet, forgotten, always trying not to be a burden, while slowly shrinking inside. I know that feeling, and I want to tell you this. You are not alone, and you are not wrong for wanting to be cared for. I spent years living for others, thinking sacrifice was the only way to hold a family together. But I forgot one thing. I need love too. Real love, fair love. When I stopped trying to please everyone, when I stepped back, stopped calling, stopped visiting, I didn't lose them. I found me. I started doing small things, making coffee just for me, reading that old book, calling a friend I used to hesitate to bother. And I realized my heart still works. It still hopes. It still deserves joy. If you've ever felt left behind, drop a comment below. Just write, I'm finding myself too. Because maybe your words will be the reason someone else feels seen today. If this video touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps me keep telling honest stories like this. For you, for me, for all of us. Because growing old isn't the end, it's the beginning of living for yourself, fully and finally.